Good morning and welcome to the Peorian. I'm your host, Paul Gordon. The Peoria region is filled with people who make a difference in the everyday lives of others, either through their jobs, their volunteer activities, or both. These are people who have made it their goal to improve the quality of living in this region, either by economic enhancements, education, recreational pursuits, better health, or preventing crime. These are people we believe to be worthy of being the Peorian of the Year, a new award to be presented in April. We also will present $10,000 to a local not-for-profit organization chosen by the award winner. During January, we received nominations for the Peorian of the Year award, 20 of the top individuals from the entire metropolitan area. Choosing 5 finalists was difficult, to say the least. We had to weigh many factors while looking at what they have done in the past, are doing in the present, and how their activities will help shape the future of Peoria. Starting today on the Peorian, we will interview the finalists to give our viewers, those who will be voting for the winner, a chance to know them a little better. The interviews are being done in random order. Bonnie Noble, Executive Director of the Peoria Park District, is today's guest, and I'll talk with her after these messages. Welcome back to the Peorian. My guest today is Bonnie Noble, Executive Director of the Peoria Park District, and one of the finalists for the inaugural The Peorian of the Year Award. Bonnie, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Many of the accomplishments cited by those who nominated you for this award were things that were done basically during the course of your job. But has it been more than just a job for you in the last 20 years?
It's very much more than a job. It's a passion, it's a love. I'm one of those people that believes that volunteerism is the highest form of recreation.
Oh.
And it's not a job. Who else would be so lucky to go to work in a park every day? But it's also the idea, I think for me, I've been in the right place at the right time and been able to do the right thing with good people. And consequently, it's a job with joy.
Has the passion and the joy helped keep the job alive for you?
I think so. Yes, I definitely believe that. There's never a day that's the same. Every day is really different. I never know what will actually come up. I have a calendar, of course, and the calendar itself is full, but I operate with an open door policy. I provide a big bowl of apples. Everybody's welcome. And it's a great way to talk with people. And you get absolutely fantastic ideas.
You're very accessible to the public as well as your staff, right?
Yes, I am. And that's very interesting also. Again, that's part of never knowing what to expect every day.
You said recently, you told me that you were very lucky in that your avocation has been your vocation.
I did say that.
Still feel that way?
Yes, I do. I didn't want to say it again, but yes, I mean, as I said, who else can do so many different things? And I love the diversity of it. I love the energy you get from doing it. Okay. So, I mean, selfishly speaking.
Is there any one part
wonderful.
of the job that's been your favorite through the years?
Oh, I love projects. I love new projects. It's mostly the people contact and working through a problem and bringing something online that the community is going to enjoy. I mean, that makes you feel good, and hopefully I can pass that on.
How many thousands of acres is Peoria Park District?
We have over 9,000 acres in public stewardship, and it's some of the most beautiful land in this country. It's what drew Kent and myself to this community when we came over the hill when he was first looking for where he wanted to work and where he thought we'd really be happy. And I just remember it just striking me how lovely it was, how exciting it was. I mean, yes, I'm from the Chicago area, but it really was spectacular. And Grandview Drive, and being able to do that now and get that on the National Historic Register,
Yes.
that, I mean, that is really special.
Is there any square foot of any park in Peoria you have not seen or touched?
Probably. I mean, that's a lot of land,
Yeah.
and some of it is in very relatively remote places.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Glen is one that I've only been to once, but I know that it's absolutely beautiful and a wonderful asset again for the community. It's sort of like a, you know, little waterfall and a little piece of starved rock
Mm-hmm.
in the caves. I mean, yeah.
Where is it exactly, Rocky Glen?
If I told you it, the best way to tell you, it's sort of off Kickapoo Creek Road.
Okay.
It used to be guarded by a man that owned property that was adjacent, and at one point, with his father, he met me at the front door with his shotgun. So, but no, I mean, you cannot possibly traverse every piece of land that the Park District owns, and each of it is very special. All the riverfront, I think we have almost 5 linear miles of riverfront property.
Okay.
And people don't realize it, but there are absolutely fantastic beaches along it. Kids go fishing. The kids have found the great spots. So, yes, I think it is very special, and it's something to be valued and very unusual. We probably have more land per capita, more acres per capita than almost any place else in the country. And that, I inherited a good portion of that, but I also feel like I've been able to add to it with the board's backing. We've done most of it, though, through grants and gifts and donations. So,
When we come back, we'll talk about Bonnie's upbringing and how it prepared her for her career with the Park District and for giving back to her community. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Peorian. I'm with Bonnie Noble, head of the Peoria Park District and one of our finalists for the inaugural the Peorian of the Year Award. Bonnie, tell us about your upbringing in suburban Chicago and how it prepared you for this career.
well, a relatively modest upbringing, but I was part of an education system that I think was absolutely fantastic. And we lived right by the Cook County Forest Preserve District, and I definitely was interested. Of course, I was a Girl Scout, and so went on fishing trips and canoeing. And at the same time, I think it started out in kindergarten with a Mrs. Wassam, who would take our classes in walks, since we were so close to the Forest Preserve District. But she showed me my first ginkgo tree, and the interest has continued.
Can you explain that a little bit on the ginkgo tree?
The ginkgo tree has leaves that look like a fan, and the veining is not like this and this, but like a fan, and they all come from one stem, and it's a very beautiful leaf. It's one of the most primitive plants or trees out there. So,
Do we have many around here?
we have some. I do know that there are female and male ginkgo trees, and one you would like in your yard, and the other one you would prefer not to have in your yard because it's just a little stinky and a little messy.
What was it about the ginkgo tree that really piqued your interest in nature?
I think it was the whole experience of maybe even getting out of class and being outside and walking and having this wonderful person leading the walk with stories about every single thing along the way. And it was sort of like, well, maybe I can do that someday. I mean, it was a wonderful role model.
Were you able to keep in touch with her and let her know years down the road what you did for your career?
No, she passed away.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, and I sometimes I have wondered what she would think. The person who I really wonder what he thinks now is Rodell Owens, and he was the Park District Director for 35 years. And he also taught some classes at the University of Illinois. He would come in as an outside lecturer, outside professor.
Okay.
And so my first touch with Peoria was actually he talking about the Peoria park system when he would come to class and what was involved. So I sort of had a little premonition. That was as we came over the hill that this would be a place I would really like to live.
Was it your first time in Peoria?
Yes, it was.
You had written a paper, though, about
Yes, right, and done an internship, but I didn't have to spend much time in Peoria in doing that. But he was fantastic, and he was the guy that said, if all people have are picnic tables, all they'll ever want is more picnic tables. And so I thought, we can do better than this, and we have. I mean, we have some absolutely fantastic facilities, and we're recognized nationally, which is, I think people in Peoria take it for granted. They don't realize what a wonderful place. I mean, the bad or the negative overwhelms some of the good that is here, but eventually it gets out there. So,
before you took the job as Park District Director, you were on the Park District Board, correct?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. And again, fantastic volunteer experience. I was elected originally in 1973. And elected at large. They're now elected by district. And then I became the president in 1979, I think, and again elected at large. And Tim Cassidy serves in that position now and does an absolutely fantastic job. At that point, I was working as the director of the Heartland Water Resources Council, getting people to save the Illinois River and trying to run a referendum to save the Illinois River. But it was a learning experience.
I bet it was.
Yes, it was.
We're going to take a break now for messages from our sponsors. But first, here is Kevin Kaiser to talk about what's going on in the literary and culinary world. Stay tuned.
Good morning, you Peorian Jew. In two of our first three issues of the Peorian magazine, we featured the poetry of Illinois Poet Laureate and Bradley Professor Kevin Stein. The reasons are quite simple. First off, when the Peorian appeared 100 years ago, poetry and things of a literary nature played a prominent role. Of course, that was before film, radio, and TV took over as the primary sources of entertainment for Americans. Second, the state of Illinois has rich literary or poetary traditions, which is reflected in the four people who have held the office of Poet Laureate for the state. Previously, I talked about Howard Austin, who would compose his verses spontaneously with musical accompaniment. Today, I'm going to talk about the Poet Laureate that preceded Mr. Stein, Gwendolyn Brooks. Ms. Brooks was a central figure in 20th century poetry. She was born in Topeka, Kansas in 1917, but spent much of her life in Chicago. Although she graduated from Chicago's integrated Englewood High School, Brooks also attended Hyde Park High School, the leading white high school in the city, and the all-black Wendell Phillips High. She began writing poetry at a young age and by 1934 had become an adjunct member of the Chicago Defender and had published almost 100 poems in a weekly poetry column. In 1945, her first book of poetry, A Street in Bronzeville, was published and won critical acclaim. In 1949, her second book of poems, Annie Allen, was published and won something a little more prestigious, the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. Now, what made this somewhat amazing is, up to that point, the American literary community rarely honored female writers, let alone African Americans. 2 years later, President Kennedy asked Ms. Brooks to read at a Library of Congress Poetry Festival, then named her poetry consultant to the library. She succeeded Carl Sandburg as Poet Laureate of Illinois in 1968 and served until her death in 2000. Go to the literary section of thepeorian.com to see a selection of Ms. Brooks' works. So that's it. I'm done. You can leave.
Welcome back. We're with Bonnie Noble, one of the finalists for the inaugural The Peorian of the Year Award. Bonnie, an important part of the Peorian of the Year Award is the $10,000 gift to the not-for-profit organization of the winner's choice. Should you win the Peorian of the Year Award, where do you want the money directed?
Well, Right now, I am working on, well, I'm working on several projects, but one of the most exciting ones is a project called The Power of Play. And The Power of Play is bringing together the zoo and the Peoria Zoological Society, along with the Junior League of Peoria. Both of those committees are just working very hard on an $8 million campaign to finish up a grand entry complex, as well as the Junior League's Playhouse Children's Museum.
Okay.
And the synergy between those two projects is absolutely fantastic. It will make Glen Oak Park a destination point, at least for a day, possibly longer. But the Children's Museum is one of those things that, although I don't know how much is out there at this point, for me it's very fascinating because most of the child's brain is developed, 85% of it by the time they're 3 years old. And between the ages of 4 and 5, they learn more between those ages than from 6 to 18.
Wow.
And this Children's Playhouse Museum, along with the zoo, it's experiential learning, really targets that area. And when you look at this community and the fact that 70% of the kids that are in the public school system are below the federal poverty level, many of the things that I've pushed at this point are those things that will make a difference with the children of this community. I think we were really hurt during the 80s when the assessed value dropped 28%, 5,000 homes approximately from Caterpillar on the middle management being moved out. And the second highest rate of unwed births in the nation. I mean, you look at those things and what we have is we often have children raising children. And these kinds of projects for those kids who've never been across the bridge are really going to make a difference. So I am passionate about it. I think that bringing these groups together, and which is what I love, I think partnerships make the world go round. And almost everything I do is a collaboration, and I think $10,000 would certainly help them on their way, and that's where I'd love to see it go.
Is there a time frame right now with Power Play, with the Playhouse?
Well, we would like to be able to get that done, and get that campaign done in a year's time. It's really been put together at the end of 2011. We're moving forward, and I will tell you, this is a very generous community, and they helped us raise $27.5 million for the zoo and $9 million for the Riverplex. And when you look at those kinds of things, I think in the past 10 years, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I think almost $54 million have been donated in grants or donations to a number of these projects in the community. And I think we've done a wonderful job with it.
Part of it, the new grand entrance to the zoo is already underway, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And it was kicked off by a very handsome gift from the Bartons. And then in addition to that, we will have finished half of that. This is all part of sort of the future of what's going on with Glen Oak Park, too. The Park District has really grown since 1992, since I first started with it. That's why I'd love Rodell Owens to see what happened, to see what has happened. I think he'd be really excited, or he's rolling in his grave. I don't know which. But I mean, from a maybe $14.5 million budget in 1992, I think we're at $44 million now. And at the same time, most of that budget originally the 14.5 came from property taxes. But at this point, $15 million is still from property taxes, and the rest of it is money that is grants, donations, fees, charges. We run it as a business, and at the same time, as I said, this community has just been unbelievably generous, and it's as I said, I work with wonderful people who have helped make a lot of that possible.
And you've also been able to track the fact that the facilities are being used by more and more people every year, correct?
Oh, yes. It's unbelievable. They talked about the Riverplex. We have over 8,000 members all the time.
I hope you've enjoyed today's program and that we've helped you get to know Bonnie Noble a little better. We are relying on you, our viewers and readers, to choose the Peorian of the Year for 2012. To cast your vote for Bonnie or any of the other finalists, go to our website, thepeorian.com. Thank you for watching today, and remember you can see this and other episodes of The Peorian on thepeorian.com. And be sure to tune in next week when we will interview another of the finalists for the Peorian of the Year Award. Have a good week.
Música